What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Wait, What Are We Talking About podcast, episode 233. My name is Bret, aka Enigma9011, and you can catch this podcast live when we go live over on twitch.tv/Enigma9011. You can drop a follow over there. You'll get notified when we go live, so you join in on the fun and conversation with us. But if you can't catch it live, that's A-OK. Go over to YouTube and podcast services the very next week, where it's broken out topic by topic, like Moose says. Drop topic by topic over on YouTube and on full on Fridays the very next week on YouTube and podcast services. Last but not least, any way you want to support the show or want to help the show, may seem small, but does help out a lot, like shares, reviews, subscriptions, all that fun stuff. If you can take the time to do that, we'd love and appreciate you for it. Today, kind of playing a little bit of catch up because we haven't done a podcast in a few weeks, so sorry. We had the holiday break, which we had some episodes go up there. Hope you guys enjoyed that with the Game of the Year discussion, as well as, oh boy, some other fun topics that we talked about there. My memory is cheeks. But yeah, it's been a little bit of a rocky start getting back into the year. Streams have been good. I've been playing through Black Myth Wukong, which has been a lot of fun. But in terms of the podcast side of things, it's been just a rough start getting back into it. Coming back from the trip, we were a little bit sick, so we were dealing with that, and then motivation levels, as we've talked about before, here and there. But we're back now. The goal is to, kind of focus this year and go forward with some good momentum and good routine and scheduling, I guess you could say, and, have some fun, one, for myself talking about these things, and then hopefully, two, you guys latch on to some of the topics and conversations, and, we have a good time with that, whether it's conversations in the podcast or afterwards. That's the goal pretty much with these going forward. So we got two topics today. One is a bit of catch up of like what's been going on since the holidays, mainly in terms of game stuff, but I'll touch on a few things they did once or while I was out in Colorado for the holidays. And then we'll be jumping into more specific video game, but let's get on into it. So, Moose is somewhere and I don't know. So yeah, holiday break was good. Had a nice time hanging out with a lady's family and celebrating the holidays there. Got to see Sonic 3, which, not bad. Shout out to Turn-Based TJ for, having me watch the first two. I didn't give him a fair shake, and then when I actually tried it, I was like, oh yeah, that's pretty good. It's not grade A cinema or anything like that, but it's a fun time, good time with characters and a decent story there. And I want to say Sonic 3 did the same. Keanu was good as Shadow. Really enjoyed Jim Carrey as Robotnik and Robotnik. That was funny, but yeah, there's a lot of goofy moments in the film. Obviously, it's more catered towards the younger audience, but it was a nice time just to go out, go to the Alamo. It's something I always try and do when I'm out there because that's just a great movie-going experience. So did that. Had a good time with that. And then another thing that I had the opportunity to do was go to, shout out to Mile High Comics, another staple that I try and do whenever we go out there. Huge comic book store. Just pretty much like a whole warehouse size, just filled with comics, graphic novels, statues, Funko Pops, like you imagine it. Like if you are into anything Star Wars or Star Trek or superheroes, Marvel, DC, collectibles, anything like that, you need to go there. If you're in the Denver area, definitely highly recommend that. I remember going years ago and just having like this euphoric moment of like, holy shit, this is amazing. And that doesn't go away. You go there, or every time I've gone there, it's that same experience, or at least a similar experience of like, you could spend hours in there and just get lost in all of it. And yeah, I went for a few hours on my own this trip and walked out with some fun stuff, some good Scotty Young covers that I was looking at and looking for, as he's an artist that I've been following on Instagram for a little while. And then I remember some of his stuff from the Secret Wars second run back in like 2015-16, I think it was. Maybe it was a little past that. So seeing his success and wanted to get a few of his variant covers that he's done, and then just find some goodies here and there. along the way, some books to read, which I need to be better about in terms of the comic side of things. But it was a great time. But game-wise, I actually had some time to play some games while I was out there. Lady, her mom, and myself had a few days during that holiday break where we kind of just, said, nah, we're not going to make any plans. We're just going to chill at home, kind of do our own thing, have a show on in the background, and just really de-stress, disconnect from the world. And it was really nice. I had a great time hanging out with them passively, and then also catching up on some games that I had talked about over the last podcast, of like games that I didn't really get to, but I kind of dipped my toes into. But I played a few either all the way through or mostly through on that trip, so I kind of wanted to talk about those. First one was Plucky Squire. I think I had talked about this on last episode of the podcast, how we did the one stream of it the day of release, and it was fun, it was cute. It wasn't exactly what I was hoping for or expecting going in, and I've heard that from a few people since the game's come out, of like it just didn't click. And I don't think it's bad in any way. I think it's catered more towards the younger audience, and which is totally fine. With the art style and then how the gameplay works out, it's very not hand-holdy in a way. Sometimes it feels that way, where it's kind of just putting it right in your face, like without telling you the answer, just the most most like little discreet, like, oh, it might work if you do X or Y or whatever. It doesn't really give you that chance to figure it out for yourself. So it was a little simple in those terms, which I think from what Devolver typically gives us, I think the indie scene was looking a little bit more forward towards that, but it just was not, like I said, catered towards that audience, I think, and that's totally fine. But I still had a good time with it. Had a fun little story twist towards the end. I mean, there's the twist in the beginning where you kind of learn why you can be 2D, 3D, that kind of thing. Humgrump was a good villain, and they had a lot of humor and cute moments throughout. But yeah, I decided to start that over and play that from start to finish. That was a good time. I had a little bit of a heart attack with the PlayStation 5 as I take a little segue here. So I did bring the PS5 to Colorado to play these games. Yes, a little egregious, bringing the whole console. I agree. But I wasn't sure. We didn't have a lot of plans going into the trip, so I wasn't sure how to fill my time. Totally fine, travel-wise. We've done that before with North Carolina, bringing the console. That was totally fine. Started up Plucky Squire, played it for about an hour, and then all of a sudden the system just went poof, and just turned off on its own. And I was like, well, that's not good. So I thought maybe it's weird, just glitching the power or whatever. So I tried again. Nope, another hour of playing, boop, gone. So I was like, that's weird. Turns out I had to clean it. And it wasn't a simple clean of just like the fans. I had to, Lady was like MVP, super engineer, God mode in this, where her and I took apart the PS5 like completely. Every screw, every ribbon cable, everything had to come out, taken apart. There's not a power supply, but like a vent that's buried under everything that was just blocked completely, unfortunately, with like dust and whatnot. So we had to clean that out and then reconstruct this thing. We were so worried. We're like, will it even turn on? Will it be fine? Shout out to whoever put that video on YouTube, but we were able to take it apart, disassemble it, clean it completely, put it back together, and it worked fine. Like a dream after that. But yeah, that was like, okay, yeah, don't panic. I want to say I held it pretty well. I was like, all right, well, it is what it is. Can't do anything now or anything then. So we got it working. Played through that. Another game I kind of dipped my toes into was House Flipper. Now, I've talked about Power Wash Simulator, how this was a game that kind of took me by surprise. Why would it be fun to power wash a bunch of items and clean for hours and hours on end. Well, House Flipper kind of hit the nail on the head too with that. So House Flipper kind of hit the same vibe, as a power wash simulator, I would say, where it is very turn your brain off, enjoy it, and very satisfying just to complete mundane tasks. Sounds kind of weird, but simple tasks is cleaning, changing out electrical outputs, or decorating a house, or whatever it is. So essentially what it is like power wash. You get the different missions where it's like, hey, I need this room repainted, or I need it cleaned and taking the trash out and whatever. And you just go into the house, clean different aspects that they have asked you to from the customer side of things, and then leave, get money. Great. So there's that side of it, which I really enjoyed. This the checkbox nature of it, similar to power wash with the endorphin rush of the dings. Sit here, chill for podcast. Doing that, very satisfying. But then the other side of the candle, or the game rather, is you're flipping houses. So you can also purchase houses from the money that you get from these jobs, decorate them fully. You can either keep them for yourself, make them your home base or whatever, or just, a little pet project, I guess you could say. Or you can sell them. So I tried my hand at that, and I don't know. I didn't really do great with it. I don't know if it's just I don't have that mind for decorating, or that eye for decorating, rather. But I was kind of struggling. I was like, that goes here. This goes here. I don't know what to do. Anything really fancy with the walls or whatever. So I haven't jumped back into it since the trip. I don't know if it's just that point where I kind of got through most of the jobs and it was kind of winding down, where the house flipping part of it and the decorating and selling the houses was more what was needed to be done. But yeah, it was a good time to jump into. I think it was when I had got it on PSN or PlayStation, it was like $5, maybe less. So I was like, oh yeah, I'll give it a try. I know they do have a sequel that was out more recently. But yeah, it was a fun time. If this is one of those things where you want that power wash type simulator type game, I would highly recommend that. It's funny how the simulator genre has kind of taken that and ran with it and been very successful, which is great. Next one I played more Marvel Rivals. We talked about that definitely over the holiday break. Enjoying that. Since I've been home, they've released a few more heroes like Mr. Fantastic and Invisible Woman. Played it here and there. It's fun for a while. It's sadly getting to that Overwatch point of like, if you don't play with people or have a group, the longevity, at least of the play sessions, it's like, I don't know. But I am having fun trying out new heroes. I've tried out Squirrel Girl since. She's a lot of fun. I've tried out Moon Knight, which I absolutely love, him and his onks, just kind of strategizing with that, where to place them to kind of hide them from other players. And I've done pretty well with both of them. Rocket Raccoon I've still used for my healer, and I do pretty decent with him as well. In terms of heroes that I still want to try out, I'm trying to think of if there's anybody that stands out. I want to try Scarlet Witch a little bit more. I've only played her like against the CPUs. She seems a little tricky. Psylocke, just because she's a cool character in general. Spider-Man and Iron Fist seem like you got to play really aggressive, which I don't know if that's what I want to do, because boy howdy, supports, you guys know, and healers, they will just run in and punch your your shit if your attack people aren't watching out for you. So I don't know, we'll see. The last one that comes to mind, at least from this recent trip and stuff, was Animal Well. Now, Animal Well, we also talked about over the Game of the Year stuff. We had played it over PAX East weekend, and then also tried it at launch. And it was a cool experience. It's got a very interesting vibe to it, where I think I kind of compared it in one of the early podcasts, the PAX East podcast. I compared it to, if you've been to Disney World, like Pandora and Avatar Land. How the colors are those purples and blues and everything is very, I don't know, night-esque on that one ride. It's got that cool color scheme. It's got this mysterious vibe to it, but all you are is you're this little blob, and it's Metroidvania where you're running around trying to solve different puzzles and platform puzzles and whatnot. And the more and more I played it over this trip, it was just sucking me in. It gives you very limited instructions, and it does not hold your hand at all. It is very much you discovering through trial and error, what can you do, how can you solve this puzzle, what can you figure out, and some of the things, the tools that you unlock through the secrets that you find in little chests and whatnot, you think that you use them for one purpose, and then you, through just trial and error playing the game, you learn that they're used for a whole other thing that you weren't even expecting. I think I had at least 2 moments in this game where my mind was just absolutely blown of like, how did I not think to do that? That's insane that actually works. And then it's just like, oh my God, I know how to solve that puzzle over in that room over there now because I could do this. It's just like, oh. So apparently Animal Well has like layers behind its story. There's no like hard concrete story where you're going to be like walking away like, yeah, that was really good. But in terms of like things you can do and objectives, there's a few different ones. I played it all the way through. I guess you could say that typical ending. And then from there I was like, yep, I want to get the platinum in this. So I just went from guides from there. And some of those secrets, I'm like, how the fuck were you even supposed to discover that in the slightest? Like, yes, there's things that can lead you that way or give you the clues, but maybe it's just me and my dumb brain. That was not crystal clear. So Animal Well was a great time. I highly recommend that. Like I said, it's not hand-holdy, so that could be a little frustrating where the direction's not there. I just took it as like, take it one room at a time and really try and just connect every possible path that you can find. And then from there, some objectives will make themselves clear as you go through. So Animal Well was a lot of fun. I highly recommend that one. I'm trying to think. I think those are the only things on vacation that I played since I have been home. Oh, no, that's a lie. I did try Banisher's Ghost of New Eden. Only played that for maybe 20 minutes. I think this is another one I talked about I was excited for last year, but just didn't try it out. Interesting concept. I just don't think it was a game that I was really ready for at that time. It's like super strong narrative, kind of murder mystery, action-y, and yeah, I just kind of dipped my toes into. It's a little buggy, which is unfortunate. I don't have a much better descriptor for that. I haven't played it since. Something I want to try, but I just wasn't in the headspace for it at that time. Since I've been home, it's been still more Marvel Rivals. I've been getting more into WWE2K25, playing more GM mode, which we'll kind of talk about a little bit more next topic, at least the 2K franchise. Yeah, I'm on like season 4 of a GM mode against 3 CPUs, and I'm having a great time with that. What else have I been playing? I just started Epic Mickey's Rebrushed. It's like a remaster of a Wii U game, I think. Absolutely gorgeous. It's like cartoon Mickey getting sucked into this like Merlin painting thing. No, not Merlin. Sorry, Yensid painting world of like old forgotten lands or stories. So you have like Steamboat Willie's in there and like some old theme park rides and whatnot, but it's just platformer. Go around, you can paint stuff to fill it in, you can use paint thinner to get rid of it. You're going against the big baddies of these like ink monsters. Oswald the Rabbit's in there as a baddie. So that was kind of cute and fun. Looking forward to playing more of that. Oh, And to close it out, when I got home, I wasn't sure what to play. I wasn't sure what to focus on. So I was looking through my catalog and decided to replay in order to prep for a new game. I decided to replay Red Dead Redemption. Wow. I know the game's like a couple years old. 10. It was Xbox 360 gen. It still looks pretty good. Like, yeah, it's not, in comparison, amazing character model wise, but for what it's worth, for how old it is, it still looks pretty dang good. So yeah, I've been going through that again. I think from the stats, it says I'm like a third to a halfway done with the game already, which I'm kind of surprised. I'm over in Mexico, just started that section. But yeah, playing it as an adult now, and I guess paying a little bit more attention to some of the stories, I'm like, wow, okay, I didn't realize how weird some of the characters are and how kooky they are, and like some of the narratives that they're telling here. For me, seeing John Marston and like how he's going about, like he seems very, well, redemption's part of the story title. Like you could tell he's there to do right by his family, and his motivations are clear, and like it's only when characters really start to push his buttons that he kind of gets like almost an asshole, which is fair. There was a few characters, man. That old man with it was like snake oil salesman. Oh, he was annoying the shit out of me. But I've been enjoying that. But yes, I've been playing that because it's like I haven't played Red Dead 2. I did play the intro probably when the game launched a few years ago, trudging through the snow, and then I was like, it was another one of me being dumb. Like I should have loved it. Ooh, it just wasn't clicking with me at the time, and I haven't gone back and given it a chance. Now, granted, Red Dead 2 seems to be way bigger than Red Dead 1, which good in a way, and that's kind of how it should be. But like, ooh, that's gonna be a big pill to swallow. But yep, I've been playing Red Dead 1 to then eventually move into Red Dead 2. It's just a matter of keeping my focus on it. I don't know why. I'll be enjoying a game, and then for some reason it's just like, why don't you keep playing it and finish it? And it's not like, oh, it's bad or anything. It's just, I don't know, weird how my brain's like that. And I think that's why the backlog is piled on for so long, and why streaming definitely helps getting through games start to finish. But that's the goal off stream. I think that'll be what I'm playing primarily. Kind of looking into 2025. I know I talked about some titles, and it's bad that once again my memory is cheeks and I can't even remember what I talked about on last episode's podcast of like what I'm excited for, because I can't remember if I talked about South of Midnight. Definitely looking forward to. But regardless, circling back, I don't feel like there's a lot of games in 2025 that are coming out that I'm like really amped for, except for like some indie titles. So I don't know if 2024 is just going to be like a real strong backlog year. Now, granted, it's only January and I'm saying that. Things could change. But we'll have to see. So I hope to get through that. I know I've talked about Horizon here and there while I played the first one. The second one I like to get through. Jedi Survivor I made through last year at the end. Trying to think of what else. There's a bunch of stuff. But like games that I was really excited for, really hyped for, really looking forward to, and when they came out, it was just like, yeah, whatever. So we'll have to see. But just catching up on some games, like I said, with you guys. That's what I've been, when I delved into beat over the vacation, than what I've been playing recently. So looking forward to getting into more of that stuff as the year goes on. So kind of alluded to it in topic 1 with WWE2K25, but a few weeks ago, Raw was on Netflix doing their debut there, and WWE2K25 was teased, and as of recording, the teaser, whatever, initial release or announcement or whatever you want to call it, is going to be coming up on the 28th. So I kind of wanted to talk about a little bit about the roster, some additions I'd like to see, maybe talk about DLC, who I think is going to be making it in there, and then unfortunately some people who are not going to be making it into the game. So first things first, shout out to the SmackDown Hotel. They always do a very good compiled list of the rosters with like the ratings and the images and rumors of like who's going to make it and all that stuff. So I have them pulled up right now for the 2K24 roster to go over like new people who showed up and whatnot. So let's do that first. Let's talk about people who showed up in 2K24 who were not part of 2K23. Mainly going to focus on the current day superstars, not the legends. Sorry, Pat McAfee gang, not going to talk about you guys either. But superstars that we had in addition, or relatively new rather, this year. So we had Bronson Reed, long overdue. Unfortunately, that release in between kind of messed that up. So Bronson Reed, Brooks Jensen, Carlito, who made his return, Channing Stacks Lorenzo, Chelsea Green, CM Punk was the big one, Dragon Lee, which should have been on the base game, but we'll, whatever. Duke Hudson, Fallon Henley, Isla Dawn, Jade Cargill, Joe Coffey, Josh Briggs, Kairi Sane making a return, Lyra Valkyria, another one I think should have been on the base game, Mark Coffey, Maxine Dupree, Nia Jax, Pat McAfee, Sanga, Tegan Knox, The Fiend, Thea Hale, Wolfgang, and that's it. So, some good ones there. I mean, good NXT representation, kinda, with some additions there. Glad to see Isla make it there, and Bronson, and Dragon Lee and Lyra. But, yeah, it was a little weird having some of the superstars in the late DLC, which I think may lead into this year's DLC, but we'll keep that just for a moment. So let's talk about the people who unfortunately will be not making a return. Pat McAfee gang, I don't know if you're making a return, so sorry there, but let's talk about the superstars who don't work with the company anymore who won't be making a return. So I apologize for the delay and lag as I'm scrolling through this list. So Baron Corbin, the first one here that I see, unfortunately being released this year, won't make it back. Beth Phoenix is a weird one. I don't know if she's still under a Legends deal or whatnot, if she's, free, not working there, who knows. Brock Lesnar, yeah, he's not making it. He got taken out last year due to all the shenanigans and was only part of the showcase mode, so good riddance there. Cameron Grimes, R.I.P. buddy, getting released. Who else on this list is not gonna be here? Sorry again for the delay. Damon Kemp, NXT superstar, brother of Gable Steveson, is part of No Quarter Catch crew. He won't be making it back. Dijak won't be making a return. Drew Gulak after his stuff. So far, so good as we reach the H's. Indy Hartwell, that's a heartbreaker. She won't be making a comeback with her release. Jinder Mahal not in there. Oh my god, all the Cenas in here, including Juan Cena. I think the Good Brothers are still there. They're still kicking around, right? MVP will be out. Omos, I think, will still be in it. He's just over in Japan right now. I think Noah, right? Is tag champ. Probably should have written out this list beforehand. Poor Ricochet won't be making a comeback. Ronda Rousey will not be back. Sanga won't be back. 1 year in, 1 year out. Scripps, a.k.a. Reggie, a.k.a. What's he going by now in the Independent? Sydney something. know him. Tamina's a weird one. She still makes it in the games even though she's not around. No more Tegan Knox, unfortunately. What a ball drop there of like opportunity. No Veer. No Xia Li. She's over in TNA now, or will be shortly. Alright, it's not awful. Not all that bad in terms of main superstars and won't be making it back. I thought that was going to be a little bit more heartbreaking than it was. I mean, don't get me wrong, heartbreaking, but like not astronomical numbers of like, holy shit, they're gone. So with the build up to 2K25, we've had a few roster confirmations just quickly in terms of screenshots. Damian Priest was one. CM Punk, Cody, Bailey. I think there might have been one more screenshot that's been released. But once again, shout out to SmackDown Hotel and a lot of the 2K community. But they start speculating once the new games comes up, and pretty much SmackDown Hotel is like shout out everybody who's been in promotional videos leading up to 2K25 of like, who do you think's going to be on the cover? Who's going to be this? Blah, blah, blah. They've written down all those people, and there's some good names in there. There's a lot of NXT talent like Obafemi, Kalani Jordan, Ethan Page. There's a few other ones that, of course, I'm not thinking of, that they're like, oh, well, they're a part of this media thing that leans towards them being in there. And I want to say yes, and I want to be excited like for those people. I would absolutely love all those talents listed to be in the games, but in terms of like NXT roster, it's been like kind of like a trickle thing. Like they'll just pour a few in there. Like in terms of last year's NXT roster, there weren't that many new people. You had Jensen, Briggs, and Fallon. They were new there. You had Gallus, I believe, making their first appearance, which I said earlier. Other than that, it was all repeats of like people who have been in the games before, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, technically Lyra's here under the DLC, which she was already main roster when she got to the game, but they counted her as NXT here. So like they don't add a lot of people year in and year out. So I don't know, like for who I think should be in terms of additions for the NXT roster specifically, Kalani I think makes sense. She's been NXT North American Women's Champion. She was the first one, and she's been around for a while. Same with Sol Ruka. I think those are the two big ones that I can think from the women's division. Kiana James is not NXT anymore. She's main roster, so like I can't really count that one. I don't know why I shouted her out yet, but like she should have been part of this NXT edition in 2K24, in my opinion. Obafemi's a great shout, especially with him being current NXT champion. Granted, when 2K24 came out, Lyra Valkyria was NXT Women's Champion for a little while, and they didn't have her in there. Roxanne, I believe, was the most recent champion they had listed. So Oba, I'd like to see. He's been around for a while. See, it's weird because I don't know where their cutoffs are of like, this is our roster that's made type of thing. Because if you look at something like CM Punk and Jade Cargill, Jade was the Rumble, which would be around this time period. Punk was Survivor Series. So relatively quick turnarounds. Granted, they were also both DLC. Punk obviously being Punk with his status, that was a huge name. They rushed him to get to the first DLC. Jade wasn't until the second to last DLC. So it's weird of like who makes it, who doesn't. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to try and be smart here, and I'm actually going to pull up WWE.com and look at the roster pages. and see if that can jog my memory here as we go into the wee hours of the night as I'm recording this. Excuse me. So NXT. So I'm trying to think, at least in terms of, like I said, big names that I feel are more likely to make it. So once again, Kalani, Soul, Oba, Metaphor ladies got to be in there. Maybe all of them actually. Oro too. So Oro, Jakara Jackson, Lash Legend. I think those three should definitely be in there because they've been kicking around for a while. Do you get Alexis King? Perhaps. He's been around for quite some time. You could put Riley Osborne in there to finish up the Chase U section. Yeah. There's a lot of names in here I'd love to see, but I just don't feel super confident that a lot of them are going to make it. Like, I'd love to see, well, I mean, keeping up with NXT, I see most of these people, you know, here and there. Like, let's see. I'd love to see, well, not love to see, but OTM could make it. Charlie Dempsey and at least some form of the Quarter Catch crew could make it. Dante Chen would be a fun one, but I don't know if he's big enough. Idris Anofe and Malik Blake. They've been a tag team palling around for a while. Eddie Thorpe. Hank and Tank would be a fun entrance. Jada Parker. Javon Evans would be phenomenal just to be bouncing around with him. I already talked about Lexus. I don't know why Mako Satomura's not been in any of the games. I know she hasn't wrestled for WWE in a while, but I think the last time she wrestled was maybe 2 years ago. Worlds Collide. I don't know. I don't know what we're missing, why she hasn't been included in the titles. I talked about Ethan Page. Sean Spears would be cool. Stephanie Vaquer and Julia and Zarya being the new crew and batch of ladies would be nice as well. But I don't know. In terms of new for the main roster, I think definitive, or not definitives, but I feel more likely people. Andrade was part of last year's Rumble. He's got to be in there. I think Tamatonga, Tongaloa, Jacob Fatu are part of the new bloodline. I think they got to be in. Naomi being part of last year's Rumble, returning. Mentioned Kiana James earlier, her being on the main roster now. I think it's too soon for the Machine Guns, at least in terms of base roster. They could be potentially DLC. Authors of Pain, do we bring them back? Trying to think of the timetable of when they even returned with Final Testament. They were around at Mania, so they're I'd say they're a good possibility. Wyatt Six. All those superstars except for Eric Rowan have been in, so you just got to give them new scans. So Rowan, Eric Redbeard, whatever you want to call him. I think he can make it. Elektra Lopez, the SmackDown Hotel, has also in here. Sure. I don't know. She hasn't really done much, unfortunately. So those seem to be the big standouts. Unfortunately, like I said, I think the Machine Guns, if they make it to 2K25, I think they'll be DLC. So, speaking of DLC, who do I think will be DLC? So, would love the Machine Guns to be DLC. Now, I'm not going to talk about legends and stuff because okay, that's a lie. I might talk about one legend who might even be in base game and might not be DLC. Let's talk about her now. Victoria. Victoria's signed a Legends deal. I know she was on SmackDown recently. Not that means anything, but I think she'll be making a return to the games, whether it's base roster or DLC down the line. Cool to see. Not the biggest Victoria fan. I think the last time we saw her wrestle in WWE was that Pandemic Rumble, 21, 20. But she was cool. She was decent. So I think she'll be making a comeback. Sorry, back to DLC of current superstars. I highly doubt we're going to see Penta. I'd love to see Penta, just obviously with his presentation as well, but I don't. It's so tough, right? Because we just said Jade. Oh, Jade was part of the Rumble, and she was part of the later DLC. So, like, but also, like I said, Andrade and Naomi were also part of the Rumble and not part of that later DLC. So it's like, Jade was also signed a little bit before the Rumble, so maybe the cutoff was before then. Or she just went to get scanned because she was hired. I don't know. I don't know how long Penta has been signed. Maybe he was able to go to 2K headquarters, get scanned, all that jazz. If so, it'll be hype as shit, but he'll be one of the last DLCs. Trying to think. I talked about the NXT ladies. Love to see Julia. Love to see Stephanie Becker. Love to see Zarya. Might be too new. Julia debuted NXT No Mercy back in September, so could be a late DLC. Becker and Zarya were not long after, so God, you could do an NXT pack. It's just, yeah, if they are, unfortunately, I don't think it's going to be till later, and it's like, it's great that they're in there. Like, I was waiting most of the year for that Global Superstars pack with Lyra, with Dragon, with Jade, with whoever else was in that pack. I'm so sorry. Like, that was my most favorite pack of this year. The rest of the legends, like, it's nice to have them, but I don't really play as them. It's just nice, like, oh, extra options in GM mode, like, type deal, at least how I play. So, like, it doesn't really appeal to me from an exhibition standpoint or matches, like, making it there. If it's current superstars, that's more my jam. So, while I'd like to see them in there, I don't know. That's another iffy gray area. We'll have to see. Same with, WWE and TNA. They've had a little bit of a crossover year this year. Now they announced, as of recording maybe last Thursday, they were like, oh, we've signed an even bigger deal or expanded it or whatever the hell. And people are like, oh, there's going to be a TNA pack in WWE2K25. I don't think so. I'm so sorry. I know that would be hype as shit. I don't think that's happening. I don't think you're getting Hendry. I don't think you're getting Jordan Grace. I don't think you're getting the Rascals, even though I love it. I don't think you're getting, Josh Alexander. Well, he hasn't been in NXT or the crossover yet. But, like, you're not getting any of those superstars who have crossed the line for old TNA. You're not getting a Rosemary. You're not getting Alex Hammerstone. You're not getting a Kazarian. You're not getting... who else has showed up? Masha Slamovich. You're not getting these people. While it'd be cool, that's a whole nother can of worms, I think, that they got to figure out legally. Granted, I'm not that, higher up. It'd be a huge selling point, potentially, to have that available. But I don't know. I'm trying to think of anybody else who has made their debut on the main roster in terms of, like, returning superstars, new people. And this feels awful that my brain is just mush. Where I'm like, I can't think of anything. So per usual, we're going to do the usual scroll over on the WWE to see if anybody catches my attention here. We already talked about Punk, obviously, being the big one for last year. Joe Tessitore, don't think he's going to be making commentary. I know commentary last year was a 3-man booth. You had Cole, you had Corey, you had Byron. It's probably going to be the same. If not a 3-man, then a 2-man booth. I'd love to have Wade in there. I'd love to have Wade Barrett in there. It's funny because sometimes when the dialogue's going, there's like one line that you kind of hear and it's like, that sounds really like Wade. I don't know why. Like, I don't think you're going to get Pat McAfee on commentary. One thing that they did in 2K24 that was hype as shit is they finally added different ring announcers. So, like, Samantha Irvin. Hey, another one who will be out next year, unfortunately. Samantha Irvin was on one show. Alicia Taylor was on one show. Mike Rome was on one show. So that was nice that they added that variety there. You'll probably get Mike. You'll probably get Alicia back. I don't know. Maybe Lillian? Doubt it. But they'll keep that. It would be cool, really cool, if they did different commentaries, like commentary teams on each show. That's a lot of work, though. That is so many voice lines that those guys and gals need to record. I don't know if that's possible. That's a lot of time off their plate, so it might still, and probably will still be, just the one commentary team. We could dream. It'd be awesome to have Vic and Booker on NXT, and Wade and Joe on SmackDown. Probably be Wade and Corey just for time purposes, and then Pat and Michael and Pat on Raw. But I don't think that's going to happen. It'll probably be the same 3-man booth, and that'll be what it is. So getting through the Monday Night Raw roster, nope, it looks like all, people there that we are to expect. Let me get through this SmackDown roster real quick. I mean, the Guns are the big new people, right? Making the jump over from TNA. I don't think... Why is Cedric Alexander on that roster? He's NXT. I can't think of anybody else besides the new bloodline like we talked about in terms of newer people. Yeah, so those are the big new names there. So like I said, some highly likely, others not so sure about. It's just that weird thing of timelines. Who makes it? Who doesn't? What's their cutoff? Are they popular enough? Who's to say? So, going to be excited for all the additions that they do add, obviously. Looking forward to the new bloodline, seeing their animations in there. That'll be great. The NXT people that I talked about, Oba, want to see his stuff. Want to see Sol Ruca. Want to see Kalani Jordan. Would love to see the new squad of ladies, but not likely. If we're going to dream big, let's dream big. Machine Guns and Penta. Late DLC. Legend-wise, it's anybody's guess. I really don't know who has a Legends contract, who doesn't. I know Shamrock was back last year. Dudley's were back last year. We already talked about Victoria being in probably this year. Don't recall anybody else signing a Legends deal this year. I guess you could get Jesse Ventura, get him in there. That'd be cool. But yeah, other than that, I don't know. 2K25, let me know who you're looking forward to in the roster, or rather what game modes, improvements you're looking forward to. It's been teased of intergender matches, which not a selling point for me, but fun and interesting for, player options. I'm excited for people to have that available to them. So let's see what other additions come into play. I'm counting down today's to next Tuesday with the reveal, so I can then impatiently wait until WrestleMania season, hopefully when this drops. But yeah. Well, guys, this has been another episode of The Wait Where We Talk About podcast. My name is Bret, aka Enigma9011, and you can catch this podcast live over on twitch.tv/Enigma9011 when we go live. You can drop a follow over there. You'll get notified when we go live, so you join on the fun and conversation with us. But if you can't catch live, that's A-okay. Go over to YouTube and podcast services the very next week, where it's broken out topic by topic and put as one big video and MP3 for your amusement on the following Friday. Last but not least, any way you can support the show, like, shares, subscriptions, reviews, whatever it is. It may seem small, but if you take the time to do that, we would love and appreciate you for it. Thanks for hanging out with me today, guys, for the podcast. Thanks for being patient with me as well with the delay, getting back into the new year, but ready to go. Whoosh. To the moon. No, Cameron Grimes. But just keep the momentum rolling with this. Have some fun with it. That's the main thing. And share some laughs and hopefully have some good conversations. But thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. And I will see you guys on the next one. Take care.